Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. Thanks for being here. So glad you're in this conversation. I think it's an important one. I always get a lot out of them, and I hope you do too. I know I'm going to today because we're talking about something that I don't know a lot about. And so we've got an expert on the show. And Inna Segal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Fletcher.
Yeah. Now, Inna, I could tell the people about what you do, the books you've written, the speaking you do, but I want to hear it from you. So let's get it right. Tell us a little bit about what you do and why you're here today.
I help people to transform their lives on different levels from their health. And most people come to me because they have some kind of health challenge and they just don't know what to do. And that could be physical or emotional or even mental. And they're struggling and they've probably gone to the medical system and haven't been helped in the way that they wanted to be helped. And they've had a recognition that maybe they can participate in their own transformation of their well-being. And so I guide them through connecting to their own body, through listening to the messages that the body has, and then working with those messages to create change, and the kind of change that I guess opens up not just new opportunity and possibilities in their own minds, but also in their body and often in their life.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And as you dialogue with me, you're going to notice that one of the things I do is I like to summarize or recap what my guests say, because it's important to me that our listeners understand. Okay. Because you and me, we know what we do and we can talk all day about it. But what I got from you is this, and you tell me if this is accurate. What you do is you help people heal themselves in non-traditional methods. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Before we get into how that is done, and we're not going to get into the nitty gritty today, obviously, but we're going to give people a preview of what you do and invite them to reach out to you if they can self-identify with as one of your potential clients. Now, before we do that, I like to ask my clients what a win is, something professional or personal, because there's a lot of suffering going on in the world. There's a lot of discontent. There's a lot of upset. And it's easy to focus on that, but it's also easy to focus on what's going well if we practice that. So what's a professional or a personal win for you, Inna?
For me, to be honest, the biggest win is actually connected to my children. So I feel like when they're doing well, and I have two children, so I have a son and a daughter, and they come to me and they say, "Hey, Mom, I think, I'm doing really amazingly in my life, and I feel like you've really supported me, and I feel so grateful to have you as my mom." That's a huge win for me.
That is a huge one. Yeah, to have appreciation from our children feels really good because we don't always get that, right?
I think often people don't. And I think that for me, having at different times been a single mom as well, I've really had to put in a lot of effort in just supporting them. And it's just beautiful to see them growing and doing well in their lives.
Yeah, right on. I can appreciate that as a parent. It always feels good to see our children thriving and growing. Inna, my next question for you is, what's your vision? I'd like to hear what your vision is. You got into the work you're doing for a particular reason. Share that with us.
My vision is about giving people, one, first, their awareness and their understanding that they do have the capacity to change their life. And when you change your life, you also can change your health, because they're kind of intertwined. It's almost like how we live our lives, how we think, the perceptions we have, the perspectives, I should say, have a huge impact on our health. So, for instance, our relationships determine how our heart is or how our communication is, right? Because we communicate with other people, and our heart is deeply connected to intimacy with other people. But so is our stomach and our digestive system. It's like we have to digest experiences and assimilate them. So, what I try and do is really help people to understand that their body is very practical and logical. And it's actually by understanding the function of the body, we also understand how it impacts our health and our life. And what I would love, my biggest vision, is to connect to medical professionals more and more and actually have them deepen their understanding of medicine and of how our bodies actually work, so that rather than always prescribing something, that's medical, that always has side effects, right? Anything you take that, from the medical profession will have side effects. They first get to know the person and they start to get to know all the connected pieces that caused this person to become ill in the first place through their thinking, their feeling, their experiences. And then before we take medicine, and sometimes we need that. I am not against medicine in any way, but I also think that before we reach for that, pill, why not understand ourselves? And I'm really excited to have that, I guess, to hold that vision. And I have had many doctors and nurses, probably more nurses than doctors, come to my workshops and sessions, and I feel like that there is more of an opening occurring at this point, and I'm very excited about it.
Right on. Again, I'm going to try to summarize your vision, right? So I want because I want our readers to be able to, our listeners to be able to connect. Your vision is about empowering people to get in touch with their own health and well-being and have some agency in that by understanding their own emotional their emotional well-being and how thinking affects the health of this machine. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. And then I wanted that to spread into medicine.
Yeah. So do you mind if I play devil's advocate with you?
Of course.
And the reason this is important is because some of our listeners are hearing this and they're like, come on, I've heard this before, or what, you expect me to like take on my health? You want me to be responsible for my health? I'm not a physician. I don't have any medical training. What would you say to the person whose brain may be thinking that as an automatic response to what you're saying?
I think it's fair to think that. I thought that for many years of my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And I suffered and struggled through several health conditions, including psoriasis, really bad digestive issues where my whole body would blow up, through incredibly painful back issues. And I was going to, medical professionals all the time, and nothing helped. So I got to a point where I thought I could be in a wheelchair. And I actually ended up having this experience with a chiropractor who said to me, your body's stuck and it wants to be stuck, go home. And I can't help you. I was enraged. How dare he say this? He's meant to know what to do. How does he not know what to do? And I actually ended up going home, not really knowing, how I'm going to help myself, but recognizing that every time I showed up to somebody's office, I did not take any responsibility whatsoever for my health. I actually felt like I was the victim, and they knew, they had the skills. And I went home and I actually connected to my body and I started asking questions. And through doing that, I got insights. And those insights about my own life and how struggles in my own life led to pain, led to back issues, led to, and again, it wasn't a blame thing, because some of the things that I understood were coming from my family, who had massive loss but never spoke about it. So lost people and had trauma and had grief that I took on. And some of it was to do with just coming from Eastern Europe to Australia and not knowing one word of English and having people tease me and bully me. And again, it's not like, okay, it wasn't my fault, but healing is not about finding fault. It's actually about figuring out what is my perspective and how is this perspective holding me back and making me really tense and hard internally and not open. And so by recognizing those things, I started to relax a little bit in my body and let go. And all of a sudden my body started to show up emotionally. So I had to feel emotions, and then instead of just push them away. And nobody can feel emotions for you, really. That's no professional can do it. And recognize my own, as you're saying, my own thinking. How was I thinking? And I was thinking like an absolute victim in my life. Everything was happening to me, and I had no control, or I had no way of changing it. And I realized that I actually do. I didn't when I was a child, and I couldn't for my family, but I could for myself. And so as I started to do that, every part of my health improved dramatically. And I started having medical doctors and nurses and teachers come to me. I think the doctors was the most challenging, because I was like, how are they coming to see me? And I was very young when this happened, when I was 22, 23, 24. I know not much, and they know all this stuff, and they're coming to see me because obviously they are not finding the answers, and somehow they think that I can support them to guide them back to themselves.
Yeah. Very good. Again, I'm going to come back and pull some real gems out of here, because I really want our listeners to catch this and pay attention. A lot of people fall into that victim mentality. What's up? I don't know what's wrong with my body. And I go here, I go there. Nobody else knows. They can't fix this. Woe is me. Why is this happening to me? If you're listening or watching to this, if you've thought those things, really want you to pay attention, because this is an opportunity for you to begin to think differently about the state of your health. Inna just said, it's not your fault. And I 100% agree with that. This is a machine that we have the privilege of experiencing life in. It is a machine. It runs on its own. Yes, we have some influence on it, but largely it runs on its own. We don't tell it to breathe. We don't tell it to grow. We don't tell, right? However, we can have influence over it. Now, here's what I heard you say, and here's what I want our listeners to hear. It's not your fault that you've got these things happening, but it is 100% your responsibility. It's 100% your responsibility, because this machine belongs to you. It's not your fault that things are happening to it, but it's your responsibility. Just like if I go out in the morning and put the key in my car and it doesn't start because some wires detached somehow slowly, because all the vibration of going over the rocks and the roads and stuff, they came apart. That's not my fault that it happened. Or maybe the battery was defective, or maybe some electrical chip was defective that came, and they put in at the car plant as they built it. That's not my fault. None of that's my fault. And yet it's 100% my responsibility. What I hear you saying is, this is an opportunity to take ownership of your health. It's an opportunity to take responsibility. And in doing so, that is how you become empowered. That is where the healing process can begin. Am I getting that correctly?
100%. And it begins from so many ways, actually being aware of how you're thinking. Because, I mean, people often say, it starts with how you eat, but it doesn't, because I have to change my thinking to eat differently. I have to change my thinking to exercise differently, right? To go outside and not to sit here and complain about everything.
Yes.
And the minute that I change my thinking, I actually change how I feel.
Yes.
And it's not just about positive thinking without actually understanding, how did I get stuck in the first place? And that was
Yes.
my question to myself. Okay, these things happen to me, but I'm not 8 years old anymore. I'm not, at the time I was almost 21. How can I think differently at 20 or 21 than 8? How do I think differently at 30 than when I was, 15? And what we don't realize is that we actually do get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And by recognizing that that happens, and this is kind of the beginning of psychology, this is the beginning of Jung's work, which is
Yes.
actually understanding archetypal aspects of yourself. When you recognize, oh my God, I'm being a victim, or I'm acting like a child, you recognize that there's a part of you that is actually stuck in something potentially traumatic, but it doesn't have to be. It can be stuck in a perspective that you
Yes.
observed when you were younger, and it's not serving you anymore, but it's making your body tense, and tension leads to pain.
Yes. Yeah. Well articulated. I really appreciate what you're saying. And again, I'm gonna add one little thing here, because I'm such a huge believer in the statement you said. It starts with your thinking. I believe everything starts with your thinking. Now, somebody might be listening to this like, well, how is thinking differently going to help me feel better? It is because thinking is what triggers your emotions. Your emotions are a result to the thoughts you have. And what is an emotion? An emotion is simply and nothing more than a chemical reaction in the body, which then floods the nervous system. And how do you change the chemistry in your body? Thoughts. Right? If you're in the garage and you see a coiled rope out of the corner of your eye, and you suddenly jump back because you think it's a coiled rattlesnake, right? Like I live in the part of the country where we have rattlesnakes. So, all of a sudden in a millisecond, the thought there's a snake and that I'm being threatened changes the chemistry in my entire body, and I have a rush of adrenaline, which is preparing me to fight or flight. That's what a single thought can do in a millisecond. What if we became intentional about our thinking? Louise Hay, I'm sure you're familiar with Louise Hay. She's all about this, right? Like having a conversation with your body, appreciating every single part of our body, like really loving it. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing. So yes to what you said. Healing and health, improved health begins with our thinking.
Absolutely. And she was definitely an inspiration originally for my book, The Secret Language of Your Body. I kind of felt like she opened the door, right? I
Mhm.
think it was in the 70s,
Yeah.
opened the door with, hey, look, there's other ways to be aware of things and to look at your body. And then because I was working with a lot of people, and what I was doing was giving them exercises to do at home. So I was writing, exercises down where they could visualize something, where they can move, where they can use pressure points, where they could use their breath in a different way, and their thinking and feelings, obviously, and even color. You can see color in my background,
Yeah.
um, and all to start to shift their perspectives and what was going on in their bodies, and open to new insights as well. And my clients used to come back and I would go, have you done the exercise? And they would say, and I would say, look, I can tell. I really can tell by what's going on if you're telling the truth or not. And so then it occurred to me that if I wrote a book and put exercises that, had a lot of layers and levels, because we are all different.
Yes.
And so I was thinking, how do I create exercises? I mean, everyone can, even if they feel like they can't visualize, they can think something different and they can touch a part of their body, and they can breathe in a particular way, and they can, do a little exercise of, well, how do I change my thinking or my feelings, and so that's what I did. I kind of, expanded and took the work that she opened the door with in a much deeper way, and it's been amazing to see people's feedback on that.
Yeah, that's what a fulfilling career you have, and what a privilege to work with people in this capacity. Hey, there might be people out there right now watching this or listening to this. Some might be calling BS on it, and that's okay. I understand that. And to those people, I would say, consider that you're stuck in a viewpoint that you're not choosing. It's just you've been programmed to think that way. And I challenge you, if you're listening to this and you're calling BS, I challenge you to consider this. What could be possible about what she's saying? What could work? What could I learn from this? Am I willing to be open to this? And ask yourself those questions, because your programmatic, automatic thinking is making a decision for you. So to those people, I say that. Now, there may be another group of people who are saying, yeah, this is cool. I do believe this. And I've been looking to work with someone like this, or I want to read this book. How do the people get in touch with you to begin a conversation, or to get a copy of your book, which is, I think it was The Secret Language of Your Body. Is that accurate? That's one of your books?
Yeah, that's one of my books.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Tell us how to connect with you.
The easiest and the best way to connect is to go to my website, innasegal.com. So it's INNASEGAL.com. And actually look at some of the masterclasses. I do a lot of free masterclasses on different topics. And you might want to start with the one called Secret, which is about the secret language of your body. And this is where I dive into all the different parts of the body and what they're really saying and why, and logic, right? I'm actually very logical. And I also guide you through several exercises so you can experience it on, for yourself and decide. And then if you want to go further, then, you might want to go to a deeper course or a deeper kind of experience, a deeper dive. But I did want to say that what's been beautiful is when I wrote the book, The Secret Language of Your Body, I actually went to medical professionals and I went to everyone that I could think of, from medical doctors to surgeons to those that work, to cancer, kind of professors, to psychiatrists, to psychologists, anyone who I felt was, medically trained but open-minded. And I sent them the book and actually got incredible feedback, which those who are skeptical can find right at the beginning of the book, with, countless testimonials from those people who have been medically trained and who are open to exploring, the fact that we are more than just, what we've been told, and that we do have the capacity to start to connect and discover, what's going on inside ourselves. And actually asking that question, what is going on inside of me, is huge, because so many people don't. They go through their lives without ever connecting, and you cannot make healthy decisions in your life, including, healthy boundaries, by never asking questions about what's going on inside of you. Why do you feel the way that you do? What is your inner being actually telling you that is going to be much healthier for you to live your life?
Yeah. Really, really good stuff. So yes, go to Inna Segal. That's INNASEGAL.com. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Get a copy of her book, sign up for a masterclass, reach out to her if you have questions. Thanks so much for being on the show today. And thank you for being a source of contribution in our world and a catalyst for healing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. And now you know what it's time for. It's time for you to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something to offer this world, and I believe in you.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.